All right. Thank you all for joining us and for sticking with us throughout the day or for joining us late in the afternoon if you did. I think this is one of the most rare conferences I've been to where things are pretty much starting on time, which is incredible, especially if you're one of the people who's supposed to be running it. So I would like to welcome you all to this breakout session focusing on uh, housing and homelessness solutions. So we have a great representative panel with us today. At the end, we have Stephanie Drillin, with over 18 years of experience in human and social services, is the program director for the Co-ed Emergency Shelter with Sanctuary, after previously serving as the Crisis and Corporate Communications Officer at Sanctuary Incorporated of Guam. She's a certified trainer in various fields, an advocate for youth, and passionate about creating innovative intervention and prevention programs for her community. Next to her, we have Elizabeth Napoli, who is the executive director of the Guam Housing and Urban Renewal Authority, or GHRI, with a background in communication disorders and over 35 years experience in administrative and speech language services roles. She's dedicated to improving the quality of life for low to moderate income families through collaborative partnerships and services, and serves on the Guam Developmental Disabilities Council and the Interagency Council for coordinating homelessness programs. We also have Adam Paulino from WestCare, who's a dedicated professional and works with an organization that provides a range of behavioral health and social services to individuals and families in need, as well as Benji Alphans, also with WestCare, who works to support individuals facing challenges related to mental health, substance abuse, and social adversity. So thank you all so much for being here. I think this is a really strong note to be ending today's session on, particularly as this evening we will be hosting an arts reception and silent auction with all proceeds to benefit the Guam Homeless Coalition. So this is a very timely discussion that has come up several times throughout the day, this discussion of homelessness and access to services. So could I ask to start off, could you start by telling us a bit about your organizations and the programs that you offer? If we could start with Stephanie. And I believe there's a microphone in the middle of the table.
There, I think it's working. Half a day, my name is Stephanie Gerlon. I am the program director for the Co-ed Emergency Shelter at Sanctuary. As you guys all heard earlier in the main ballroom, Sanctuary is a nonprofit organization. We were founded in November of 1971. We are celebrating 53 years of service to Guam's community, youth and families. I've been with the agency for 18 years now. I started there as a freshman, a high school graduate. I was attending the University of Guam and then eventually got into the AmeriCorps program, and I grew ever since. I do want to share that Miss Millie was my former supervisor before at Sanctuary. I can definitely tell you that with our organization, I'll be really honest with you. The reason why I stuck with the organization, and I know I have not told her this, but over the course of the years that I've been with Sanctuary, I found my own self with all my mentors, which is what also gave me that goal to continue to keep giving back. And Miss Millie was one of them as my supervisor under the Community Outreach Prevention Education program. And that's also where I found my footing of wanting to continuing in giving back to Guam's youth. So with our agency, we have several programs, and I know Asia mentioned earlier, it's always a fight, right, for different types of programs to sustain them because of grants. So as of right now, we currently only operate our Co-ed Emergency Shelter and our Saginaw Home Low Drug and Alcohol Treatment Program, which is still the only treatment program on Guam and in the Pacific region that is a residential for youth. And we're hoping in the future, again, that at some point we will be able to get that transitional living program back, because that is one of the biggest gaps of services on Guam for individuals who are ages 18 to 24. And when we lost that program, or when the program, not lost it, but when the program had ended, I saw a really, really, really huge need for that program. We were getting an influx of referrals not just from the school system. It wasn't just from CPS or DYA. We were getting even self-referrals, and they were high. We work closely too with the Guam Homeless Coalition. I also have Leilani, who's our quality assurance officer. I get messages from her as well about, can we go out into the community and see these individuals and try to conduct an assessment and see what services they qualify for. So I hope in the near future for Sanctuary that we obtain that program again, and hopefully that helps to bridge the gap in poverty for that age group and being able to assist them in helping them into transitional living.
Hi, thank you. I'm Liz Napoli. I'm the executive director at the Guam Housing and Urban Renewal Authority. And I have to give you a little bit of a history about GHRI because many people are not aware of all the various services that we offer. GHRI was established by public law in December of 1962 after the devastation of Typhoon Karen. I was 8 years old at the time, so I clearly remember that time. But its mission really is, it's an autonomous agency, and we're 100% federally funded by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. And, our mission is, whether it's for young, homeless, at-risk youth, disabled, low to moderate income families, single mothers trying to become self-sufficient, or manamku, GHRI has a positive impact on their lives because our mission is to promote the health, safety, and welfare of Guam's people by the elimination of slum and blight conditions, by the orderly redevelopment and renewal of communities, by proper planning of community development, and by provision of safe, decent, and sanitary dwellings for low to moderate income families through the federal government funding that we receive. And I was really surprised. I've been with GHRI for 6 years now, and I was really surprised because, most people only know GHRI as, it's low income or Section 8, right? I was not aware of all the various programs that they have. We have the housing program side of it, which is public housing. And public housing we are the landlords for 750 units. And they are anywhere from we're as far north as Dededo and then as far south as Maleso, okay? And so we are the landlords for those public housing units. And then the Section 8 side is we get about 2,600 housing choice vouchers is what they're called. And they are, applicants who are income eligible. So it's very low to moderate income families are the ones that need to apply for those vouchers, and we have different vouchers. But anyways, besides Section 8 and public housing, we get a lot of grant funding on the community development side, okay? We do have, I'm sure you've heard of the community development block grants, and the community development block grants over the many decades that GHRI has been around has built many public facilities from senior centers, public health facilities, police department, stations, fire stations. We've also have recreational facilities that we've built, and even Head Start. We've even done some projects for Head Start. So we just have a lot of community development facilities that we built over the many years, and we also have public services. And so I wasn't sure, who was going to be here, but you will all benefit from, I will go over very quickly how, or I think she just wanted me to tell a little bit about GHRI. So before I go into this, you may pass this out because on the regarding the homeless, we had the continuum of care homeless programs that we provide. So everyone can have a copy of that. And then I'll talk about the family self-sufficiency program, and that is on the Section 8 and public housing side of things, okay? But as you can see, when you take a look at that, GHRI really is given the funding for, under the continuum of care homeless programs, we have the Housing First Rental Assistance Program, and it's a tenant-based rental assistance to homeless adults with disabilities and their families. Then we have the Anchor of Hope, and the organization that's running that is the First Church of God, and it's permanent supportive housing for victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. Then we have the GHRI Permanent Housing Program, and that is operated by the Catholic Social Services, and it's a housing placement for homeless individuals and or families with disabilities, with priority given to those with the longest histories of homelessness. Then we have the Manhali Project, which West Care Pacific Islands is running, and it's permanent housing and supportive services to homeless veterans with disabilities and their families, as well as homeless individuals seeking substance use and mental health treatment. And then under the rental assistance programs, the Family Services Center of the Salvation Army can provide with our grant funding food pantry services, homeless prevention, rapid rehousing, and temporary rental and or utility relief to income eligible individuals and families. We have the Isla Apartments, which is run by the Catholic Social Services, and it's a GHRI home program funding. And it's affordable rental program, and applicants between 50 to 60% of the area median income have to be eligible for that program. And there are apartment units in Manila. Then we have the program called the Low Income Housing Tax Credit Program, or LIHTC is the acronym for it. And actually, in our next couple of board meetings, I believe it's on our board meeting on November 26th, we just had applications submitted for that, and selections will be made for the development that best meets the criteria of need for this year. And so the LIHTC is really the IRS's money, and they allocate tax credits to private developers to produce affordable housing for applicants below 60% area median income. So those LIHTC projects are places like the Summertown homes in Dededo, then the ones next to SDA. The name escapes me. The ones right next to SDA in Tumuning that looks really nice. Ironwood Homes. Ironwood development in Totu. There are and then there were the newer ones. There's a new development in Barragata, and then there's one that's near completion that's just past the Guam Regional Medical Center in Dededo. And so these private developers have, I believe they have provided about, I would say, close to 2,000 rental units, which has really helped us with the deficit in the housing supply on Guam, because the demand is much larger than the supply. So we're seeking many different ways to try to build more homes, because the housing needs analysis that we did in 2019 indicated that we needed about 9,000 more units on the island. And so we're barely making even a dent in that total number. But so those are the programs on that side. And then we do get grant funding for public services. So we have the Employment Empowerment Initiative, and it's Manielu that oversees that. And it's called Multilingual Work Readiness Workshops, resume building, and individualized career guidance for those who have lost their jobs or have reduced work hours due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And then GHRI does have certified housing counseling staff, and they provide one-to-one counseling, home buyer education, group education, case management, and related support activities for eligible families, primarily under that home program, Section 8 and public housing programs. Then we have the Lighthouse Recovery Center, which is run by the Salvation Army, and it's a residential recovery center program for men in recovery from substance abuse and outpatient services for men and women. And I'm pleased to say that we will very shortly be opening what they call the Women's Treatment Center at Teachin. And that is a facility that's like the one for the men that, you know, will enable women who don't want to go through the program because they don't want to be separated from their kids to be able to have their kids be with them for part of their program. So that should be happening within another month. And then the Opportunity Initiative organization, Opportunity Initiative is also by Manietlu, and they provide intensive workforce development, inclusive of soft skills, career readiness, and employability curricula, enrichment activities, engaging youth and families, youth mentorship, and adult workplace mentorship, and family literacy programs. And then there's the community development. And so we do have a program for first-time home buyers and for renewal affordable homes. We assist eligible first-time home buyers with purchasing a primary owner occupied dwelling made available to residents below 80% home area median income. We also have the homeowner rehabilitation program, and that's by GHRI. And it's assistance to rehabilitate the substandard conditions of a primary owner occupied dwelling for Guam residents below, again, the 80% home area median income, and also properties within the regulatory limits. We have the Renaissance Affordable Rental Program, and we are the landlords of those units. We have some in Malesu, we have some in Talafofo, and they are rental programs for low to moderate income families, and we are the landlords for those units. And then we have a program called the Housing Trust Fund for Affordable Rentals, and it's in partnership with West Care Pacific Islands, and it's a rental program for individuals or families who are residents of Guam and below the 30% area median income. And then lastly, we have the Home American Rescue Program, the Home ARP, Affordable Rental Program, again in partnership with West Care Pacific Islands. It's a rental program for qualifying populations with a preference given to veterans. So as you can see, GHRI really does, with HUD funding, we have a lot of resources to try to help the varying needs of the population. That, of course, everything is income eligibility, right? It's to help those from very low to moderate incomes. It's not, not everybody will be eligible for it, okay? And then on the housing side of it, the rental housing side of it, which is Section 8 and public housing, this is a really good program that we have. It's called the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. And I won't read it, read through it, but just to, put it short, we have staff who encourage families who either have Section 8 vouchers or are in our public housing units to enroll in this 5-year employment incentive program. And it helps them to increase their earned income and reduce their dependency on welfare assistance and rental subsidies. And the importance of that is that we always try to tell our families that, come in for assistance, is that we hope that they're not there for the long term, that their lives improve, their income increases, and they're able to graduate from the housing assistance, right? And so through this program, we actually have had many successful graduates who, what happens is they have money going into an escrow account. And at the end of the 5-year program, if they meet all the goals that they agreed to, then this money is paid out to them. And we have families who, as of November 2024, we, under Section 8 residents, there are 100 of them who are going through this program. And then under public housing, we have 25 of them who are going through this program. And what happens is, we have had like 31 graduates just since 2014. And 13 of them have their own homes. They bought their own homes. 11 of them through this program became employed. 3 of those families paid off their debt. 2 got their diplomas, right? 1 purchased a vehicle and 1 became a small business owner. So you can see that we really do our best to make sure that, they break out of that cycle of poverty or being dependent on housing subsidies. But that's basically it. And GHRI is also, I just wanted to mention that we are also a part of what they call the Housing Subcommittee of the Civilian Military Coordination Council. And they meet quarterly, and it's all the head honchos on the military side and then the directors on the government side. And what they discuss is the impact of the military buildup and how things can be better with the military buildup, right? And housing is a very big part of it because, of course, they did not prepare as they should have to bring all those military personnel and their families in. And so what has happened is many of them are renting outside the fence, right? And so that takes away from affordable rentals for the other families, whether they are GHRI families or actually the ones that get left out in the cold are the middle income families, because GHRI families get subsidies. The military pays a lot for their housing allowance to their personnel, and the ones in the middle are the ones that can't compete with either side. So those are discussions that are being had with the military to see how they can, lessen the negative impact how it has had on housing outside the fence. And another component that has also affected housing outside the fence is workforce. There are contractors who have brought their workforce in, and so they didn't have housing for workforce. And so the workforce, they've bought some complexes to house their workforce. So that's another thing that, we've brought to their attention, and they're trying to work around it by either building more on their bases or, it's the discussions are continuing to happen. So that's basically it. GHRI really is here to help the low to moderate income families. And when we, whatever we build, we make sure that, if the developers submit plans for a development, then we make sure that it includes having, recreational facilities or having it in an area where the families are part of the community and they have access to transportation, to jobs, etc. Have it be a place where they really can come home and feel like they're, doing well, right? Or doing better with the housing subsidy. If you have any questions, just let me know. Sorry.
Thank you, Miss. Hello. Today, my name is Adam Polino. Before we start, I'd like to begin, I would like to say thank you for inviting us here today for the panel, right? A little bit of background about myself. My name is Adam Polino once again. I am a United States Marine retired veteran. So pretty much my job here at WestCare SSVF, right? I am the outreach specialist for SSVF, right? So a little bit about WestCare, right? WestCare, we try our very best to go out to reach out to the community, pretty much to uplift the human spirit. So on top of that, an SSVF, it's called Supportive Services for Veteran Families, right? Not only that we uplift the human spirit of veterans and their families, but pretty much our primary goal is to promote housing stability for very low income veteran families who are pretty much homeless or at risk of being homeless. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much what our program does. And if you have any other further questions along this panel, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you so much. Testing. Thank you so much. Havare everyone, Kasalelia. My name is Benji Alphonse. I'm a case manager for ATSA under WestCare. Can everybody say ATSA? So ATSA, I know it's so a little brief the description about ATSA. ATSA, I know it's a Chamorro word for to uplift or to raise. So can everybody raise something from their tables? Say ATSA. Yeah, so whenever you raise something, remember about ATSA, okay? So I'd say it's we're not a housing program. I know a lot of people may heard about it or familiar with the program, but we're not a housing program. What we are a outpatient treatment program. We offer substance use and mental health services to individuals that are experiencing homelessness or at risk of becoming homeless. So some of the services that we provide, I mean, the primary service that we provide is counseling. Can everybody say counseling? Okay, so just so that we're on the same page, okay? So the primary service that we provide is counseling, but then the clients that are receiving these services then get a chance to also get case management service. So we also help them out with their barriers like housing challenges or employment, or even like simple things like maybe gathering important documents like IDs, SS cards, or whatnot. So these are some of the services that we provide, and also we provide emergency food. We to the clients served, we provide a 7-day worth of food pantry, like food, clothing, or hygiene products, or cleaning products to the families that we serve. But that is just a one-time per funding year. And we also provide emergency shelter, and that is dependent on the funding availability, and that is up to 30 days max. Yeah. And we also provide transportation assistances through bus pass and cash cards to our clients. Yeah, so basically that's what ATSA does. So yeah, if anything, any further questions about the program, I'll be able to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm a little bit blown away by the sheer range of products and services that your organizations offer. I can safely say I had no idea that so much was happening on Guam, and it's really fantastic to see, and a lot of different approaches within the same organizations to tackle different issues. So, given the fact that your organizations are able to offer so much, I think the biggest question would be, what challenges do you face in these offerings? Do you have difficulty with people taking you up on them, or is funding a problem? What are your challenges?
Well, specifically for youth, and in order for us, of course, to serve our youth, we have to have their legal guardians participate. In regards to homelessness for youth, that population is mostly around the ages of 12 to 17. It's always the most difficult to place our teenagers in the foster care system. I know I heard earlier during the large or the presentation before this, is that the way things have changed in the generation, it's like other people are raising the kids nowadays, and the foster care system is growing, and that's a population that is homeless. It's homeless because they're misplaced, displaced, in a sense that they're living in our shelters, and they stay there at months at a time. And so with Sanctuary, our COVID emergency shelter program is only supposed to be 30 days. And that 30 days, you have to request for an extension for another 30 days, then another 30 days. And we've seen months at ends to almost 2 years. The longest I've been there, or since I've been there, the longest I've seen a client stay is 2 years. And that's a teenager, and that teenager transitions into one of our other programs. And that's where I was talking about the gaps in services, that for the gaps in services ages 18 to 24, I felt that that's where our youth population falls through the cracks. And then it makes things worse. So when we're talking about poverty and access to services and how difficult it becomes, is we build these programs, we have these programs, and they drop out of midair. And then they come back again and they drop out again. And so the struggle with trying to get the youth into those foster care placements, it's also at the family forefront, where extended family, including their biological parents, are not making the efforts to take them back. So they end up with another family, then they end up with another family, and then they end up eventually off island with another foster family that is not blood related. And so I say that with us, with our agency, it's difficult to capture and then help those transitions, because the number is going to keep on rising and rising and rising because of that lack of placement, the lack of support that we have in the community. Personally and not professionally, I feel that it's gonna continue to grow. Professionally, if we continue the services we have, and try to capture, and maybe, I don't know if it has to be that we have to increase more incentives maybe for people to participate. I can only say there's a cap at how much you can spend, right, for these incentives for them to actually capture their attention to receive the services that they need. Then I'm not, I would say maybe we would have to go that route. But again, just trying to help out our youth who are in that homeless category. With our services, they're very short term, but the constant renewing with hopes of transitional placement, it does become very difficult. And there are times where we do get our youth population who are very resistant to wanting to stay in a shelter, which is also why we have high rates of running away, high rates of not wanting to come back to other shelter services. And I'm sure, and I can't speak for all the other shelter agencies, but I'm sure that maybe we've all come across those issues with clients that we do serve, or youth that are residing in those shelters as well.
Oh, yeah. So, Miss Stephanie's correct, right? So I do go out. I conduct my outreaches, street outreaches. I mean, I go out to the slums, to the jungles, pretty much everywhere in Guam, right? And so I see the homeless. I'm in the forefront, and the way I see it, we do have a problem here in Guam. I believe, for our program, right? Our target rate for FY24 was supposed to be serving 75 veterans. In FY25, the end of FY24, we have helped over 100, I want to say 110 to 115 veterans, right? So it's climbing, it's jumping. This is actually a really serious note. Just a couple weeks ago, we took one veteran out of a shelter that was closing, which we all knew the shelter was called Lihing Sanofu, right? It closed its doors for good. And so Stephanie is right. There is going to be a continuing issue here on Guam and our island of homelessness. So one of the what Stephanie said, how they're having some about the youth, right? The restraint or something like that, the resistance. For our program, I feel that our resistance is from the landlords, right? The lack of education and stigma when it comes to landlords. Most landlords that we face, they don't want to bring in a homeless veteran, because our veterans come with barriers and challenges, whether it stem from being in the military or coming out of the military. They exhausted they exhausted everything, so they come to us for their last hope. So in saying that we find it really difficult sometimes so I go out to advocate. We also have a housing navigator to advocate for the veterans, to the landlords. So we have this in our program. We are allowed to give landlord incentives, right? Let me tell you a little bit of landlord incentives. A landlord incentive is pretty much we can pay the landlord up to 2 times of the veteran's rent, right? Shouldn't be that way. We are in the island of Guam. Guam is supposed to be welcoming, helping our own, right? So you see the measures, we have to strategize pretty much on giving landlords an incentive just to take our veterans in, right? In that incentive, the landlord is welcome and free to do whatever she wants with the money. It's hers, right? But we try to explain, like, hey, what maybe if the veterans make a mistake in the house, disrupt something, or don't make rent, maybe you can take that from the pot, right? So those are the things that I see that challenges us as a program. And quite frankly, we can help a lot of veterans, but it's gonna take a community. It's gonna take every initiative. It's really hard now because there's a lot of veterans we can't help. We can't help due to the AMI, the area minimum income, right? Thank God now it's at 80%. Before it was at 50%. past years was lower, right? So I believe that these are the steps that they're taking us. They're seeing, I think GHRI is seeing, the whole island is seeing the homeless rise here in our island. It's not like little ones. I guarantee every village you go to, look closely in the jungle, off of Route 16, you will see pretty much infrastructure, not only infrastructure, just a tin or a tent. And I go there, I go out and look, and I determine if I can help this person or not. Just because we are a veteran program, if they need the help and they're not veterans, we will make an attempt to pretty much go to another service that our community partners like OHAP or one of the Guma San Jose shelters. So yeah, so it is a problem. It is a struggle here in our island, and I think the organizations can vouch for that as well.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you. Just to add on to the challenges that we were just hearing about, also one of the challenges that our program also face that are also known for us, I would say also transportation. Transportation, I know earlier I said that our program provides cash card and bus passes, but to be honest, that's not enough. Yeah, because not all of the homeless clients are able to take a public transit due to their maybe disabilities. And if we talk about yeah, trying to get them disability certifications just so that they can ride on the transit, that is also another barrier as well when it comes to their healthcare benefits. So those are some of the transportation issues that we may have. But how we've been tackling it so far is also working with our partners, community partners like Togi. Togi has been doing a really great job in transporting our clients when it comes to treatment. But for those that are not even like, let's say with case management wise, if they wanted to go out there just to look for employment or to get their documents done or whatnot, then Togi is not able to really take them because it's not really a treatment priority. So those are some of the challenges that we may have when it comes to transportation. And not all of them have their own cars that we may give them cash cards. And also one of the barriers that we have is also language barrier. When it comes to our Micronesian brothers and sisters, not all of them are really fluent and understand the English language. So when it comes to treatment or even talking about case management or what they really need, they couldn't even really express what they really need, and really help us understand how we may be able to help them as well because of the language barrier. So, but I'm really grateful about the partners that we have. Even within our organization, we have other Micronesian brothers and sisters that are part of our organizations like Yapis, Chukis, and Pompeians. So they can speak those languages when we have those clients that are from the other states. And we also reach out to like Manielu, or we can also reach out to Chicasa, just so that they can provide the interpretation services. And also one of the challenge that I may say is when it comes to the clients, especially the population that we're serving, these are clients that are facing mental health and substance use challenges. So their personal commitments to their own boat to even stand up on their own is a really challenging thing for themselves as well. Even if we create a really bright and a great care plan for themselves during discussion and whatnot, but for their own commitment just to follow through or just to make sure that they really do their part and we do our part in ensuring that they get to stand up on their own it's a really challenging thing for them to commit to it just because they have these mental issues and um, substance use challenges. Yeah, so basically, those are some of the challenges.
If I may, um, going on that, the Section 8 housing choice vouchers, we do have what they call special voucher programs, right? And so there is the regular vouchers, and actually we have a lottery system that we open up, and I think we're going to be opening up the lottery system in January. But the demand is greater than the supply. We only have 750 public housing units, and somebody asked me at one time, it's like, why can't you guys build more public housing units that we're the landlords of? And I said, because HUD has what they call the fair house or fair cloth limit, where we can only build one more public housing unit. Okay. As far as the Section 8 vouchers, again, we always try to apply for more vouchers, but it's competitive, and depending on whether they see that GHRI is in need more than another jurisdiction, then that's the challenge that we have. We just do not have enough vouchers, and we do not have enough housing units for all the people that need it. And to give you an example, we always have a wait list. For example, Section 8 right now has a wait list of 520 people. Coma Tranquilidad has a wait list of 12. And that's one of the places that a lot of the elderly love to go, want to be able to stay at because, it's down by the beach, etc. Right? And I have to tell them that because there are only 49 units down there, it's like once people finally make it off the wait list and get housed there, they're there until they, pass away, or unless they violate something. But it's one of the popular places, right? And then we do have veterans vouchers as well, the VASH vouchers, but the VASH vouchers are really not GHRI's vouchers. They're really from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, which is at the First Hawaiian Bank. So we have vouchers, but they have to refer clients to us. And so that's an ongoing challenge with them, because we have so many vouchers still. You need to refer find your veterans and refer them to us, right? And we do have project-based vouchers. So the project-based vouchers are, every once in a while, you'll see the big billboards that are announcing at places like the LIHTC developments like Summertown or Ironwood. And it's only for ages 62 and older. So the project-based vouchers are that those developments have so many units that are dedicated to just the elderly. So whenever those become available, then we advertise that you can apply for the project-based vouchers. But altogether, just for the Section 8 side of it, we have 520 on the wait list. Then on the public housing side of it, right? Our most popular public housing sites are AMP1. AMP just stands for Asset Management Property, and that's in the central location of Sinahania, Ganya Heights, Mongmong, Asen, right? And so everybody wants to live in the central, so that list is longer. Then we have AMP4, which is Totu and Dededo. That's also one that has the longer wait list. And then we have the Jotnya, and we have Jotnya and Telefofo, and then which have elderly sites, and then Agate, Umatic, and Malesso, which also have elderly sites. But because transportation is an issue, and remember, we have low-income people that are staying in these units, most of the time they don't want to go live in the south on that side of the island because they don't have cars and they have to rely on mass transit, which is not as reliable for them. But just on the public housing side, we have 1,079 on the wait list. So, we do get calls. The governor's office get calls. It's like, I've been on the wait list for a year. And it's like, you might be on it for 2 years. Usually 2 years is the max. And then we go through the wait list, quickly because some people just drop off for whatever reason, or they leave the island, or yeah. But our biggest challenge is the demand is greater than the supply. And then the next challenge is we have what we call Housing 101. When we get applicants that become eligible and they're entering, whether it's public housing or the Section 8 side, we make sure they go through Public Housing 101. And it's to help them understand what their responsibilities are as residents, right? That, HUD has regulations and it's federal monies. Like they said, they're willing to give the assistance, but you have to accept the responsibility that comes with it. And so many of our individuals or families sometimes take that for granted. And they don't, pay their rent and they become so far behind. But we try not to, terminate anyone's assistance if it's a matter of, rental arrears, right? But of course, when they violate, like big violations have to do with health and safety and illegal activity, right? So we really try to make sure that we educate our residents so they know, look, there are so many other people waiting to get into our programs. When you get in, please make sure you stay in it until your income is better and you graduate, or you don't need to get the housing assistance anymore. But I would say that those are our main challenges: is the demand is so much greater than the supply, and then just having people stay in the program and not ending up being back out, and lastly, I did want to mention on the homeless part of it. So GHRI did purchase a building in Tamuning, and it's going to be a drop-in shelter. It's going to be the first drop-in shelter where, not all homeless folks want to be housed. And I know, Rob, I'm sure you know this, and people that go out and do the point in time count every year, not every homeless person wants to be housed. They don't want to be responsible and accept the responsibility that goes with being housed. And so for such folks, or especially those who have young children, and circumstances find them, homeless, the drop-in shelter will have them be able to at least come in the evening, have a meal, shower, a place to sleep, and then they can leave it when daylight comes, So we are trying to find all kinds of ways to make sure we don't have as many homeless people out on the streets.
That's very enlightening. There are very unique challenges on the island that you're having to deal with. And this issue of demand being greater than supply and a lot of the stigma associated with it is it's really quite shocking to the extent to which that applies. I do want to be sure that we take questions from the audience. If anyone's got anything they'd like to ask, please do just throw your hand up. We only have about 10 minutes left, so I'd like to make sure that we get your questions if we possibly can. So we have a question.
Test. I am Lorenzo from West Care. For Miss Liz, I think another barrier for at least, I work with Adam, so I'm the lead veteran advocate for the supportive services for veteran families. Another barrier, I think it's with our, like we were mentioning, the elderly population, right? We have these veterans that may come into the program, they can complete their ADLs, but eventually their health starts to decline, as the natural course is, but they end up needing caregiving in a sense. I know before they had the shelter plus care vouchers. Maybe if you can speak a little bit of that, if that's still, or what options might be there for at least vouchers for those disabled or elderly individuals.
And thank you for bringing that up, because that is one of our challenges as well, is we do have elderly folks, and all the housing programs, you have to be, it's independent living, right? until then, you're not able to live independently because you suffered a stroke or whatever other ailment that makes you become disabled, and then you need some kind of caregiving. Our programs do allow for an existing resident to have a caregiver. They just have to follow what the criteria is to allow a caregiver. So we do allow that. They just have to let us know that that's the situation, and then we need to let them know these are the regulations regarding having a caregiver come and live with you, in your unit. Okay, but that's what we're finding is that, and I was mentioning it to someone earlier, it's like we really need a lot more social workers because case management is really important. And I know we lack social workers, right? And then another one is caregivers. There are many who I'm sure have caregivers, but they're caregivers that are passed from one family to another. Oh, I know somebody, she helped my elderly aunt, and my elderly aunt passed away, and maybe she might be interested, right? And, to be real, they are caregivers that are being paid under the table. They're not licensed or whatever, but they provide excellent care. And that's why families pass them from one to another. So I was mentioning to, I believe someone at GCC and UOG, I said, and maybe they do have a program already. You need a program where there are many, caregivers or people who have that caregiving, nurturing kind of personality, right? Who maybe don't have a GED and that's why they can't become licensed or whatever. But if they had a program to train individuals that are interested in, becoming licensed caregivers, there really is a great need for it. And then the last thing I almost forgot, speaking of the elderly, we know that we do not have an assisted living facility on Guam, right? And so those are discussions that we've been having with Adelup because we're trying to figure out how we can get grant funding or whatever it's going to take for us to have something like that. Because there are more and more, we always get calls about people that are in the hospital and they can't be discharged because they have no home to go to. And so the hospital's like, busting at the seams because it's like, but we won't let them, we won't discharge them if they don't have anywhere to go, right? And so that's another challenge is those are people that do not have family support, do not have the income to go be at St. Dominic's, which is the only really facility that, has 24-hour care, right? But it's very expensive. So that's another challenge is what do we do with those that end up being in the hospital and they were homeless, or maybe they weren't homeless, but they were going to be homeless at discharge because families can't take them, So that's another challenge that we do have.
Did we have any other questions that we wanted to address in the audience? No. We've only got a couple minutes left, so I just wanted to ask if would you like to give some final thoughts on any topics or issues that you didn't get a chance to address so far? Because I realize we could spend an entire day just talking about mental health and housing and all of the, tons of issues that go into it. So could I start with you, Stephanie?
Not so much a pressing topic, but I do want to add on about our dental room project for Sanctuary. So part of the dental room project is making that home away from home. And that's for our youth that come into Sanctuary. So part of that is, if you know anybody out there in the community who would like to sponsor a room, or maybe even not sponsor a room, but would like to donate, we are also working on an incentive program. And that is something that myself and the rest of the team have seen that nowadays incentives are eye catchers for everybody. I mean, sometimes they're not as receptive, sometimes, or majority of the time they are receptive. So I'm putting it out there for anybody who would like to make any donations to Sanctuary kid-friendly games, mostly like for teenagers or anything that can benefit a teenager. We are working on our incentive program as a part of the Gentle Room project as well. And hopefully that could be something that also continues to attract our kids to remain in the program in a more safe environment rather than being out on the streets. Just to tag along on Adam earlier, like he said, that sometimes we can offer up gas cards and other incentives even for their families just to come. And sometimes you have to do that, right? Sometimes you have to give a gas card just to come and see your kid. And it's heartbreaking to see those types of things. But I mean, for me, it's like, I just want you to come and see your child, even if I have to give you a gas card, even if I have to give you a backpack that's in our office, like just to get you to come. So a part of the incentive program is really to help build that morale with the kids, to know that, they are being cared for, whether it just be even from our staff and just let them know it's also coming from the community. I do want to share that our kids are very, very excited. The current ones we do have, we did explain to them about the Gentle Room project and how the response from the community that they would be the first ones to experience the revitalization of our emergency shelter. So again, I just ask that you please spread the word, and you yourself and family members, if you would like to donate, you are more than welcome to.
I just wanted to say that it really does take a village. And if you notice on the handout I gave you, and please, I do have these ones that have to do with the Family Self-Sufficiency Program up here, but GHRI gets the funding, right? But without the partnerships that we have with NGOs and other agencies, then it wouldn't work. We'll get all the money and then we'll end up having to send the money back because we're not providing the services or building the facilities that are needed. And, when people come up and ask me, well, how about this? How about that? It's like, please come and ask, because that's what our research planning and evaluation staff is for. They can figure out, okay, that can fall under this part of HUD's programs and it will meet eligibility criteria. So anybody who has any idea of a facility or services that are needed for the vulnerable populations on the island, please, you're welcome to call me at GHRI and we can set up some kind of meeting so we can brainstorm and see how we can work around things like that. Like I work a lot with, Rob in OHAP, right? And other people. And we get the funding and we're more than willing to see how we can all spend it together to help the vulnerable populations on our island. So don't hesitate to contact us.
Yep. You know what? I like to take this time, right, to pretty much piggyback on Miss Napoli, right? It does really take a village. It's really true. Everyone in this room here, I see familiar faces. Mr. Rob, Hannah. In the past year, we have been working together. Whether it be providing like homeless or even conducting outreaches together. So I would really like to say thank you. Thank you, and we're all here because we care. We wouldn't be here if we didn't care for our island of Guam, and pretty much for the homeless population here in Guam. And it's an issue. Like I said, it's an issue, right? But you know what? In SSVF, our team is very small. It was smaller in the past. I was hearing stories, right? We are a team of 12, and we are servicing like over pretty much like last year I said 100 people, right? We're a very small team, but we are very committed. And it takes pretty much a village to help. And so please, if you guys know of anyone, any veteran that might need our services, feel free to contact me directly, or pretty much just come by and say hi to the team. We're actually located in the old City Bank on the second floor, off of Route 1, East Agana. So our office, we welcome everyone that just wants to see what we want to do, what we do, how we act, pretty much. And who knows, probably in the near future, you guys will find me in the streets conducting outreaches. All right, but thank you, Susan Mossy.
I think they said it all, but I just want to say mental health and substance abuse. I mean, substance use is a really great issue nowadays. We can all agree on that one. When we see our homeless population, it's not really what the first thing that comes to mind is that person needs housing, right? But we do not see the underlying issue that the person might be having. It might be as mental health challenge or even him just using. So if you know a person that is going through homelessness and it's all because of you don't really know the underlying issues that he may be having, then please reach out to them, have them call 988 or even refer them to us. And then if we may not be able to help them based on their level of care, then we will make sure that we connect them to the proper services that they really need. All right. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. Please join me in thanking our panelists. We do have just a concluding session. It will be really quick if you'd like to join us back in the Somnac room right across the way. Thank you so much.